Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review Shazam, the latest DC EU movie. Stars Asher Angel and Zachary Levi, respectively playing Billy Batson and Shazam. Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddie Freeman, Mark Strong as Dr. Savan, and Djimon Housan as Shazam the Wizard. So, this movie was directed by David F. Sandberg, who had directed one of the Annabelle movies, like scary, film franchise. Unsurprisingly, also using his cinematographer for that movie, who is Maxime Alexander. And this was composed music by Benjamin Wallfish, who is a name I've been seeing more and more often, and his work is really good. Even when his music is more paired for darkness, it still has a great sense of whimsy to it. And I think it's important to mention the director and his cinematographer, because this movie definitely feels especially with coloring and how certain shots are composed, it's very much in a thriller mindset. Not to say that the movie's trying to scare you or anything, but it has a lot of similarities, in my opinion, of how they would shoot Gremlins or Ghostbusters, where it could be more intended for not just little kids or adults. It's a bit of a mix of, family can come and see it, but also has kind of somewhat science fiction or fantasy, craziness going on that can be like, oh wow, that's weird to see. So the movie opens up with Dr. Savan when he's just a little kid in the 70s, and he is offered to be the next Shazam from the Wizard, and he is too tempted by the wiles of what can be corruptible. So he doesn't get it, and he's told that he's not worthy. This majorly affects him. Previously, he was just in the car with his dad and his brother, treat him rudely, and he was just playing around with his 8-ball and shit. He starts complaining about what happened, and he doesn't understand why they weren't able to see it, and why he was just there, and everything's so weird, and it just pops out of nowhere, bop, and before we know it, cars hit, dad's fucking thrown out, he can no longer use his legs, and his older brother starts blaming him for all the shit that just happened. We flash forward several years in the future, and we have a young Billy Batson who we are introduced. He's a troublemaker. He's always running away from his foster homes. He's still trying to find his mother, and he's still holding out hope. He hasn't seen his mother in 10 years. He's given away to a foster family who everyone, all the kids, are from different backgrounds and races, and they all have their own different quirks. Billy spends a lot of time with the kid who's on a crutch named Freddie, and he's obsessed with superheroes. Not just in comic book sense, but since this is the DC universe, he likes to have everything about Batman, Superman, whoever, because it's something that's actually happening in his world. But Billy's apprehensive to accept this family, because he's still trying to hold out hope for his mother. He thinks that he'll be showered in everything that he hoped to have ever since he was a child and lost his mother. And it's sad that when he finally finds his mother, it's not what he expects, and he finds out that his mother didn't want to have the pain of possibly putting him through more trouble than it was worth. So when she realized that he was fine right after losing him, she just faded back, and she's like, this is better. That was a very emotional scene and made a lot of sense. It wasn't just like she abandoned her child because she didn't like him or to get money. It wasn't like that at all. But I do like his foster siblings quite a bit. I especially like Eugene and Darla. Darla is this little black girl that wants to be, really wants to impress Billy and really want to be accepted as a little sister, and she was just so adorable. There was Eugene, who was the kid from fresh off the boat, and he's just obsessed with video games, and he just cannot stop with it, which comes to a very good joke towards the end. But now, meanwhile, Savan is on his mission to get the power that he wanted ever since he was a child, and becomes like a psychologist, and has this company that's trying to help people that have these visions, but these visions are actually seeing the wizard, and they all failed. And he's like, I'll get that fucking power. I deserve that shit. Ever since I was like however old back in the 70s, I need to get that shit. I'm gonna get it now. And he finally has a recording of all those symbols that showed up when he was being transported, and he's like, yes, I finally have it. He uses that, and he's able to go through a portal, through just a door. He finds up with Wizard Shazam. He's like, what up? Yeah, I'm here for it. He's like, but you're not worthy. He's like, worthy? I'm gonna take the eye of sin, bitch. And he just starts fighting back, and he's able to get away with his powers, and he's like teaming up with the fucking 7 deadly sins and shit. You know how this goes. Fucking corruptible power. Then he like hacks his fucking daddy, his brother, and everyone that was working for in the company, and he's just like, yes, I have what I need. And it just shows that this character is like, not only played by, abuse and feeling lesser, but he is constantly played with one of the sins, envy. He immediately becomes envious of Shazam. No longer the wizard. Now Billy, who can turn into Shazam when he's bestowed with the powers, because there needs to be a successor. And he's like, this person's pure of heart. I must take him out and show that I'm better. And now thinking about it more, I'm just like, that makes a lot of sense, because you just think, when we first see him, he's just like some weak nerd that doesn't know how to stick up for himself. So him having a power complex, it speaks a lot to why he's like this. I'm not going to say like this character is like the greatest superhero villain that we've seen, but I do understand a lot where he's coming from, and why he is so messed up. He's not just evil for the sake of being evil. It's nothing like that. But yeah, it was very entertaining to see Freddy freak out and get so excited because Billy can become this big superhero that can shoot lightning and start flying and shit, and super strong and all that. Pretty much anything them together is fucking gold. It's whimsical. It's hilarious many times. It's just like, no matter how long before I see this movie again, I'm going to be constantly thinking about some of the great jokes and some of the great banter that these two friends who become brothers, because they definitely have adopted Billy. And towards the end, he starts participating with the family and actually feeling a part of them. He realizes that he doesn't need his biological mother that doesn't to take him into her arms after finding him. He realizes that I can accept that I love her, but I don't need to fall to a whimsy of trying to be accepted by someone that is not going to try to be there for me. And that's a big step in his character. It helps him teach that you can't be selfish, because it is Freddy gets his ass whooped and shit because he couldn't be there to become Shazam. He's like, oh, I'm here, I'm a big adult and I'm going to do adult things, and anytime he would do that was also very funny. But he starts gaining popularity through YouTube. I was not expecting to see that, but it was very cool. It makes a lot of sense. Now Billy and Savan fight after Billy almost kills a few people on a bus, accidentally shooting lightning that kind of ricochets over there, and he saves them. And when he put out a fucking mattress, I was fucking done, bruh. Yes, Savan's like, yeah, you're the champion? He's like, I guess, and starts whooping ass, and he's like, oh shit, I'm fucking bleeding, and I'm Shazam now, I'm not just Billy? Fuck, this guy is strong. But, throughout the movie we find out that more of the sins that are taken away from him, the weaker he is. And, actually now that's like very poetic, the empowerment of, his reasoning for being evil. If you strip that away, he is a weak man, and more maybe pacifistic. He is more vulnerable. That's probably a better way of saying it. He's vulnerable. But yeah. Once again, the scenes with Freddy and Billy, when he's like learning his power and they don't know what to call him, was pretty funny, and they like try to stop a purse snatcher and a gas station robbery and all that. Now, Savan goes after the foster siblings. They now all know that Billy is Shazam, because unsurprisingly, Billy is not the best at keeping that under wraps. They go to where the wizard's lair is and all that, and I believe it was Freddy that ends up throwing a batarang, a replica, at Savan's head, and he's like, oh shit, he can't bleed, and the fight gets taken over back to Earth, because the first thing that Billy thinks of when to go back home is a strip club that he briefly goes to. Back when he was experimenting with how he can turn into, a big man, just not like some punk kid. And I was very entertained that they had to cover up little Darla's eyes when that was happening. I'm also a fan of the foster parents. I thought, their banter was pretty cute. But then everything that happens in this movie, except for the flashback in the 70s, it takes place last year during December. So there's a bunch of Christmas stuff up. There's a mall, and they have a bunch of Christmas toys, and they have a Christmas festival where some of the bullies that have been giving Freddy and Billy crap, are fucking there. Funny enough that they get wedgies at the end after they were trying to do that to fucking Freddy. Come on now. He's a nice guy. I mean, he's a dork, but he's a nice guy, and he's a fucking crush. Like, they're just fucking assholes. But yeah, they start facing off with 7 Deadly Sins. Savan, he's whooping ass against fucking Billy and shit. And, all Savan wants is to take the power of Shazam. He wants it for himself. And as we saw last time, you can get fucked by that, because fucking, Wizard, he just like fucking crumbled and shit. I don't know if it was just that his time had come, but I assume if you just like completely relinquish your Shazam powers, you die. But I'm pretty sure if they come out with another movie, they will elaborate more on the rules, because in every like depiction of Shazam, they do little different things with that as far as that goes. But I got a few tears in my eyes when his siblings are in trouble and he goes to save them and acts like he's going to transfer the power over to Savan, and he distributes the powers to himself and his siblings, and they become the Shazam family. I was so happy to see that they were doing that thing from the comics where there's multiple Shazams. Back then it used to be called Captain Marvel, but Captain Marvel is now a Marvel character that we're seeing in theaters as well. That's crazy. You can go see Captain Marvel or Shazam, who was the original Captain Marvel, in theaters right now. That's kind of mind blowing. Anyway, but powers distributed, and all the kids and Mary, but Mary isn't like close to my age. She's going off to college and shit. But they all become like adults and shit. One of the funniest jokes I think in this whole movie is that Eugene, when he becomes Shazam, he starts shooting lightning. Remember, he's a gamer. He shoots one of the 7 deadly sins, and he says Hadouken. I didn't know I needed that, but it was just fucking awesome. But yeah, they're like all buff and shit, and like shooting lightning. Darla just fucking running back and forth and shit. She shoots fast and all that. Trying to think, one of the other kids, Pedro, grows a beard and all that. But yeah, they all start saving the day, and Savan loses his powers, and Savan is eventually put away, and Freddy is actually eventually supported again, and actually shows up to lunch, and so do all of his brothers and sisters. And show up to lunch is good old Soups with his head cut off because they probably couldn't not get Henry Cavill to play that role. But overall, just I was so entertained by this movie. I laughed so hard watching this. I felt joyous at it's a movie that you can feel like a youthful kid watching. It's not one that has to talk down to you like a lot of kids entertainment does. It's just a fun ride, and I'm right now for a sequel to this. I'm more excited than a lot of other movies that are supposed to be getting sequels, because I've just had so much fun. And if they keep this team together, I'm not saying the family unit, but what I'm saying is they get the director, the writer, assumingly the same actors, because they shouldn't have too many contractual obligations against it. I'm just go fucking for it. And I'm sure this movie's going to do well, and I think other people should see it. So that was my spoiler review. Tell me what y'all think, and as part of the Krypton Critics, I love you.